This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Hi, I'm Seth.
And I'm Patrick.
So now that we've had 3 days, it is currently Wednesday after the con. Monday for us was travel, 2 days. Tuesday was recovery, and so here we are on Wednesday. Figured we'd just sit down and give you guys a quick recap of what the weekend was like for us. And we'll obviously be releasing a ton of material that we recorded while we were there, but I'd like to just, sit down with Patrick and while it's still fresh in our heads and talk about what the weekend was like and let you in on the little details that we went through.
Yeah, and man, even with it being still it's only a couple of days in the past, it's still like there's so much to go over. I'm nervous I'm going to forget something critical or some important highlight.
Oh, I imagine that we are going to miss about half of what we did at the con. We don't have time, memory, or, it would take us literally 3 days to tell you everything that we did at the con because we did so much.
So welcome to our 7-hour episode on how awesome JordanCon is.
So we'll try and keep it shorter than that, but there will be things that we miss. So forgive us if we met you and said hi and don't get a chance to mention you in the podcast. But
I think we're going to link to this and just put it up on our website. Maybe also put it up in our typical podcast feed too. I think there's a ton of people out there who would love to get to JordanCon and aren't able to come, or for whatever reason, whether it be distance or just the cash to get across the country for 3 days of nerd convention.
Or just taking the time off work.
A lot of people showed up this year that hadn't in previous years. We had quite a few just Watt Spoilers folks show up to hang out with us, but obviously also enjoy the con, and we expect next year there will be more. So if you guys are out there listening to this podcast and you haven't been to JordanCon yet, or somehow haven't heard of it, even though you're listening to us, this should be a pretty good guide on the feel and all the things that go on at JordanCon. Each year, I feel like, well, we've only been there 2 years, so I can't say each year, but it this year felt like it was an improvement on last year, and I expect that the next year, 2020, will be even more cool and elaborate and even bigger.
And part of it is that since we are familiar with it, we kind of knew what we wanted to take advantage of, what we wanted to do. I felt like I had more fun simply because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew where to spend my time. And so I was hoping to pass that knowledge on to you guys.
Yeah. And I mean, last year, that was my first convention of any kind with going to JordanCon. And I do feel like I spent a lot of time wandering around being like, what's a con? What do people do here? I feel like right off the bat, I got to say that I'm really glad about this, but JordanCon is a really small convention compared to something like DragonCon or Comic-Con, where these huge, tens of thousands or more people show up. JordanCon is about 1,000 people. I think it fell just barely short of 1,000 people this year.
890 was the official count.
So that being said, it's a small, tight-knit community, and probably 10% of those people, or even more than that, have come for either every year of the con. I think this year was year 11.
Yeah.
A lot of these people know each other very well, whether it be through Facebook groups or through our Discord groups and online forums like Theoryland and Dragon Mount, and
it's groups of old friends getting together, but the thing is, what I find amazing is it's not cliquey. It's not like the White Tower folk hang out with just the White Tower folk, or it's everyone's a Wheel of Time fan, and the groups are constantly changing and merging and splitting, and there's a great social structure. There's no one standing on the edges.
And I feel like also because it's so small, it's a really welcoming, kind, friendly community that I've really never seen anywhere else. It's kind of hard to even explain and a little difficult to imagine. People are just nice. And I feel like that is because a lot of people already know each other. And so when there is a newcomer, people are, happy to have them. It's not like a, oh, you noob type situation. It's like a, oh, this is awesome. One more giant Wheel of Time fan showed up to our little specific convention.
Right. And it's also, we always have something to talk about. That
Yeah.
helps.
If you're a fan of the Wheel of Time and you show up, like, have you ever, felt like you were the only person out there that read this whole series once or multiple times and nobody will ever get your Matrim Cawthon reference? Everyone there will get it. It's a really cool thing to just be able to offhandedly reference the Seanchan or something, and have people understand your joke.
It's one of the few places that I can relax. And that sounds very, very weird because it's this big con with lots of people and tons of things going on. But I can just be as nerdy and Wheel of Timey, and people fucking love it. I never, you always, at least for me, I am always censoring myself in public in terms of what I say. So I don't get that, whatever. All right, nerd. I'm always thinking about that kind of stuff. You don't have to do it at the con. And it's like, it's an amazingly freeing experience to just be able to be yourself. That's such a weird thing to say about a con, but it's true. It's one of the few places where I think I was able to be myself always for days on end. If you don't think that's a relaxing experience and I think that's one of the reasons why people find it so cathartic to go there.
Yeah, and just really comfortable. It feels like you're part of a family, which is a goofy cliche that you hear all the time, but it's true. I don't know how to say it better than that. I found myself saying the exact same thing because we did some collaborative stuff in the past and at the con with Daniel Green of YouTube, who does a lot of Wheel of Time stuff, but also, reviews other fantasy novels. And when we sat down with him to do his synopsis, I found myself, I have to say, it really feels like I'm part of a family. And you may not, it's like when I used to go to like my grandma's house for Thanksgiving, like it's not weird to just you just feel comfortable. I'm not saying this well.
Yeah.
You can just chill. It's fine. Yeah. It's grandma's house.
Exactly. It's that feeling when you walk into your room and shut the door and like pop off your bra. Like it's like doing that all weekend.
Yeah, I just felt very comfortable. Feel comfortable with everyone. Feel really welcomed, and also because we're podcasters, a lot of people know who we are. They already are aware of what we do, and that's really cool as well. To just
and I got to follow up. We're talking about the acceptance into the wider community. One of the things that I really felt was I got to meet. This is pretty much the only time I get to meet you guys who are listening to us, who love us in person, in group, and it's so amazing to put faces to names, to see you people, to hug you people. Who you calling you people? Those of you out there who are listening and who are, it was just so amazing to have that group as a refuge from the bigger group for us.
Absolutely. It is definitely nice. I feel like our first year, last year, that we showed up to JordanCon, it's a little difficult at first because we didn't know a lot of these people, or we only knew a handful of people there.
Mm-hmm. So the few people that were there and were great supporters on that first con.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
This year was like there had to be 12 or 15 Just Watch Spoilers people that we know and are familiar with. I feel like there were possibly even more. I mean, I know a lot of people listen. But I'm talking about just people that hang out in Discord and come out to the live recordings that we talk to every week,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really cool to put faces to names. A lot of people I only know by like their internet handles. So people would walk up to me and be like, "Hey, Patrick, nice to meet you, man. I'm
John.
So and so. Yeah, I'm John." And I'd have to be like, "What's your username, man?"
No, it's a weird 30 seconds. We did it with the White Tower Girls too. They came up to us and were like, because we were sitting with Daniel Green, and they were like, "Hey," and the three of us just all gave them just the dead blank look.
They talked about
and and they're like, White Tower," and then immediately it's like, "Oh, okay." Like, but there is that half a second where your mind needs to make that connection.
I think she looks kind of like this one Facebook thumbnail that I see occasionally, but I don't want to be like, "Oh, you're so-and-so," and be wrong.
So, oh my God. We always look different than our profile pictures.
Yeah, some people look really different. Some people I recognized immediately, but it's hard to.
Let's talk about the days. So that we're sort of talking about the overall feel and like how much we enjoyed it, and I loved it. I mean, every minute of it. But we flew in on Wednesday, which I can't recommend highly enough if you have the time.
Oh yeah, and so the problem we ran into last year, we didn't really allot ourselves enough time to like travel and decompress. So we got to the con and then we were in the con, like it was happening almost immediately, and it was a little overwhelming. And I personally didn't sleep at all on the plane, so I'm like,
no, I was able to sleep, so I was better off than you were. But
yeah, been awake for like 30 hours and trying to interact with people. So this year we made sure that we had at least a day before and a day after the con to prepare, and then and reset our sleep schedules if necessary. And then a day after to kind of sort it out, relax, and not have to run to catch our plane.
Let's be honest, be hungover.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all know that you're going to need the day to be hungover. You can do that on a plane. It's not fun. It's not fun. Yeah.
Brutal.
Or driving. A lot of people got up and were like, okay, I've got a 12-hour drive ahead of me. And it's like, okay. Good luck with that. Sorry.
Man.
Then some of those people were doing things like, oh, I have to go to bed earlier than I want to because I know I have to travel tomorrow, or I have to leave the party. Give yourself the time, because this is a once a year opportunity for you. Make sure you have the time to enjoy it.
It's really worth it, and you're gonna make friends, especially if you come in 2020. The organizer came up with a couple of good ideas. This year, people had novice badges, which basically, so you have your little con thing on a lanyard, either around your neck or some people hook it to their belt. And you can, if you want, put a novice little flag on there, which is to say that people who have been doing it for years and the organizers can kind of greet you and help you out in navigating what to do. But this coming year, they're talking about giving out accepted badges, which is to say the kind of idea is that these people can look for the novice badges and say like, hey, what's up, man, or lady.
Or those are the people the novices should be looking for.
Yeah, if you
need something, look for someone with who do the novices turn to? The accepted.
I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah. I got a novice badge. I still have my badge from last year. Did you keep your 2018 one?
I lost it, and I was bummed about it. I don't know whatever happened to it, but
I got them both sitting here. So my original one actually does have a novice ribbon on it. So they're doing that last year as well. But they didn't have the accepted
I didn't even
badges.
remember that.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it right now. Which is awesome. Keep your badges, folks. Speaking of swag we picked up, we got awesome little knit figurines of ourselves and Timber sent to us by Abigail.
Geekto Studios. Go Google that.
Spell it out.
Geekto. It's all kind of one word.
Okay.
Geekto Studios.
The 2 is always the one I was worried about. And those are just adorable. I'm looking, again, other things I'm looking at right now. And he's staring at me.
I have mine. Jules thought it was hilarious.
Did you know the pants come off?
Yes, I noticed that. It was actually accidental.
I did too.
I put it in like my water bottle holder because I walk around all weekend with like a backpack on. It just has like my laptop, mics, and so if I want to do like a quick interview on the spot or something like that, I can, or whatever. Get in touch with someone. I put him in the water bottle holder all weekend. So my little knit doll was sitting in there. I went to pull him out and it just yanked his pants off because it has a it has a Velcro closure, on the thing.
That's all right. Okay, do you want to jump into Thursday?
Yeah, I feel like Thursday was kind of showing up, meeting, greeting, hanging out in the lobby, and just like chatting with, I feel like a lot of the organizers are already there because there's people setting up for things, moving in equipment, and
I think that was crucial for us for the rest of the weekend because they got to see our faces, know who we were, talk to us, and gave us a chance to really be involved in the con for a while.
next year I plan on doing even more, because I heard just need help with things like registration when massive amount of people show up on Friday morning. There's, a line hundreds of people long trying to get in. They need as many volunteers as they can to sort it out and give people their badges and stuff.
Yeah, and if I have one message that you should take away from this recording, volunteer. Like, the volunteers are the lifeblood of that place. And it's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to have something to do. You only have to do it for an hour. You don't have to commit 4 hours to it. You just do it for an hour or two, and you don't have to miss your favorite panel. It's almost like going to a panel, and the panel's called volunteering.
And it's really the best way to get to know people, especially if you're showing up alone and you don't know anybody. It's a great idea to just register for a couple of, and a lot of this is easy stuff. Like, they're going to give you, a box full of books and be like, please bring this to room whatever. They're going to be giving out free books over there. And you just carry the books over and you walk in a long line of people and you just chat with the other volunteers, and you'll make friends really fast. We're all nerds and we all have a lot in common. It's
or a lot of times it'll be like, all right, we need you two to guard this door so people don't get in here until we're ready. And so, well, what are you doing? You're standing out there with one other person that you're stuck with talking to, and you get to know them. And then and because they love the Wheel of Time too, they're instantly your friend. Or all the people who are waiting to get in, they're standing there in line waiting and talking, and they'll talk to you because they know you're just a guest volunteering. They've seen you around. So it's a great way to make friends. And speaking of volunteering, I also want to talk about the con suite.
Oh, man. No other convention does this, but con suite, I mean, it's a place to socialize, but they do basically 3 squares. So there's like not elaborate, but food to eat. So you don't have to like leave the hotel to go find food, which is really nice if you just want to stay active. Yeah.
Fried chicken, pizza, salad, gluten-free options. If anything you need, they've got it. If you have dietary restriction, they're aware of it.
It's a suite in the hotel, so it's a big room with lots of chairs, and that's another way I met a lot of people my first year. Mm-hmm. You go get something to eat and sit down, and they're debating about some subtle plot point of the Wheel of Time, and of course I have something to say.
Of course. Yeah, so Thursday night, and then, it was just nice to stay up and have a few drinks with a few people and not go too hard on Thursday because we had a panel on Friday.
Yeah, which was really fun. I had never heard of this before, but so it's called the Wheel of Time Sorting Hat was the name of the panel, and apparently they do this at a lot of other nerdy type of cons, where basically you take the concept of the sorting hat that sorts characters in Hogwarts into their various houses, but instead we had a list of dark friends in the Wheel of Time, and it was me and Seth and Tom DeSimone and Shannon Lieb, who are 2 longtime volunteers and organizers of JordanCon, and we just sat down with them and debated the finer points of whether Varen belongs in Gryffindor, for instance.
Yeah, Varen was a fun one. And we had our honorary panelist, Jody, as well.
Yes, who was a very young lady sitting in the front row by herself, and she was just like, so it's kind of, the way it's structured is obviously the 4 panelists are doing a lot of the talking, but people would raise their hands when they wanted to make a point or disagree with us or whatever. And quite a few times we had our own minds changed by, people had good arguments, but Jody was killing it, and she was just coming up with like really what seemed like finely thought out arguments and points, which wouldn't be incredible in a group of 1,000 well-read people. Like, of course, you know how to structure an argument, but she's 12.
Right.
And just changing people's minds, and we were really blown away. I feel like that leads us to we tried to get an interview with her.
Yeah. So we recorded that panel, and then afterwards Patrick was able to sit down with her. And unfortunately, I will say that there was a lot of noise in the background, so we didn't get a lot of content out of that. But
her and her dad were volunteering at registration, so I just kind of got a table off to the side and chatted with them real quick. The audio quality didn't turn out great, but I was just happy to be able to sit down and talk with them.
So if you go listen to that episode, which should be out here in a minute, you'll hear both the whole panel, including all of her questions, and then just a quick follow-up interview with her about why she loves The Wheel of Time and how long she's been reading it. And it's fun to hear her voice. So check that out, because that was one of the more remarkable things that I encountered that weekend.
So thank you so much, Jody and Jordan, Jody's dad, for sitting down with us and having some fun chatting about that stuff, those things.
And apparently she was on the panel last year, so that's part.
Oh, right. Thomas, because we started joking, like, this girl should be on the panel. Like, she's just as good as we are at this. And he was like, yeah, sometimes she is.
Yeah. So after that, we both went to a couple of different panels. They were amazing. I enjoyed watching the fighting contest. Patrick, you participated.
Yeah, knocked out in the first round, but it is hella fun. If you guys have a minute, you should try it out. They're just like, fake like PVC and what do you call it, like foam swords, and you go for 3 hits. First to make it to 3 wins, and you move on to the next bracket.
First, best out of 3, first to 2.
Oh, okay, right.
And then they actually added this year a spear fighting contest with buckler and spear, which Kelsey participated in.
Yeah. What's up, Kelsey?
So there's those little things, and at the end you get awarded Blade Master, which is about the only way to officially get awarded Blade Master.
Just correct me if I'm wrong, and then you get an actual sword.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if they give them out every year. They gave them out this year, or
if they're just props or
yeah.
Whatever. It was super fun just to try.
And then I got to give a huge shout out to Kirk Y for that night. He got a suite. He got some whiskey, some usquai. And we got the Wheel of Time Spoilers folks up in that room, and it was a fantastic time, both to have that room to go to, and then when we left and were able to interact with the wider Wheel of Time audience. Like, just a great time that night. And I want to say, like, the one thing, it's hard to explain that every minute of every day you're having Wheel of Time spoilers level conversations constantly with everybody in a group, and it's mind blowing, and it's hard to explain that that's always going on in the background. Just always these conversations. Whether you're out smoking, whether you're in the elevator, whether you're in the con suite, there's just great conversations going on.
We're at the bar drinking, and there are 2 bars in the hotel, and that doesn't include all the people that just bring their own booze to their hotel rooms or wherever.
And if you want to save some money, bring your own booze, because hotel booze is expensive.
Yeah, it's a hotel, guys.
But yeah, I mean, if you want to do it cheap, you can get some of your own booze. You can get some snacks. Use the con suite. You want snacks for when the con suite's not open. It's only open during like meal times. It's a con that you can do cheaply, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, you totally could if you use all the resources that are there. I think it's the most accommodating convention probably in the world. Nobody else feeds you. Come on.
Right. I mean, it's the
and
thing.
The ticket isn't that expensive.
It's $50.
Yeah.
You honestly, you can easily make your money back just by eating in the con suite on the ticket price. And there's one thing someone said is that they're not trying to sell you stuff, right? You don't have to buy anything to do anything, except there are a few workshops where you have to pay for supplies. I think that's the only money. And then, of course, you're going to want to spend, a left arm and a leg in the art show, because the art show is amazing.
Ooh, I ended up spending a bunch of money. There's a charity auction, and then this is the last year that Taverantes and artists like Ariel Burgess, I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, Burgess?
That's correct.
Are going to have the official rights to produce Wheel of Time stuff. So I went a little nuts. Like, I bought one of her pieces, I bid on stuff in the charity auction, and I won a really big canvas map of Ranland, and it had like a little Tarvalin silver penny and a couple of other things like in the frame, all framed very nicely.
Nice.
So I was excited to have that, and then of course I bought a ton of T-shirts. But all worth it. And I think actually ended up with so many T-shirts. I'm going to send them out to some of our mods and stuff because I really don't need 8 Wheel of Time T-shirts. That's slight exaggeration, but not really.
I don't know about that. I think you do.
You need 8 Wheel of Time T-shirts. Also, I think I was saying this is the last year. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those creators like Taverantes, Ariel Burgess, and all of the other creators that I'm forgetting, Badali Jewelry.
Bandai.
Bandai? Wow,
It's pronounced Bandai Jewelry.
Oh, wow. Okay, I got that way off. But makers like that, I think, have the rights out until like October or something like that. So go buy all the stuff that they have sitting in a warehouse. Because otherwise they won't be able to legally sell it, and that sucks.
Yeah. So at this point, they have basically everything they've been able to create is sitting there. They've done a bit of a gamble because they probably created a bunch of prints of stuff, hoping they're going to be able to sell them off over the next year. So make sure that they run out of stock. Run them out of stock of everything, guys.
People are going nuts at the con, but I'm sure there's still more stuff out there, and so I don't know precisely when the rights transfer, and when they do, I don't know what Sony and Amazon are going to do, or if they're going to be coming out with even comparably cool stuff. So get your stuff now, because I don't know if and when it's ever going to happen again.
And okay, so that brings me into my next point. One of the things we were able to do at the con is make a ton of connections, including with Ariel Burgess, and she'll be on our podcast hopefully in the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to be talking with her a week from Thursday. Artists, let's talk about Saturday. We had our Q&A, which I think was honestly my favorite panel, with Daniel Green and the White Tower podcast girls, Jess and Jen.
I thought our live show was going to be the most fun part, but it was totally it was kind of so it was Daniel Green of YouTube that I was talking about earlier. You should go check out his channel. He does a lot of similar things to what we do, but on YouTube, as well as the ladies from the White Tower podcast. We've done collaborative stuff with both of them in the past, so if you go back in our feed, you can listen to us chatting together. But this was our first time all sitting in the same room. Me, Seth, and them. And we just kind of went down the line, explained who we are and what we do, and then just started chatting and had an open Q&A with the audience. And man, whatever it was, an hour, it was just not enough. We ran right to the end of the time slot. Yeah.
No, the first 10 minutes maybe took a little bit to get going, as it always does when you have a new group. But once we got going, man, you could not shut us up. we wanted to talk right over each other.
We are all talkers, so there's that. But we talked about our fears and hopes for the TV show. We talked about our podcasts and our favorite characters. I mean, we touched on like all sorts of subjects.
We will be releasing that for you to listen to as well. So go listen to that, because I honestly don't remember what we talked about. It was all sorts of different topics, and it was fun stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's really fun to get with those folk who are all really fun people. And it was Daniel's and Jen and Jess's of the White Tower first con ever. So it was really fun kind of watching them experience the community for the first time. And it is, again, I gotta keep saying, a really special community.
Nodding.
And then, of course, I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on Saturday.
Just there were tons of panels. I didn't get to go to nearly half the ones I wanted to see, but unfortunately for us, it is a bit of a working weekend. So I'm out there trying to network and talk to people and meet people more so than I am necessarily going to panels. So
that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a ton of fun sitting on the discussion panels. I loved every second of it, but honestly, probably my favorite part of being at JordanCon is just like milling around and meeting people and chatting and just socializing with my fellow nerd brethren and whatever the female equivalent of brethren is. Brothers and sisters.
Sisterin?
Sistren? Yeah, sure. Let's go with
Wait. Are we saying cistern? That's not something different. And guys, I gotta say, the smoking couches out front are a great place to meet people. I don't smoke.
Even if you're not a smoker. No, a lot of people just go out there.
Yeah, it's just a good place to sit. And frankly, most people are smoking vapes, so the smoke isn't too bad if you're a non-smoker. But if you really can't stand smoking, obviously don't go out there. But if you can, like, stand where the breeze is strong and and socialize outside.
Can I say I think this happened last year and it happened this year. I had like conversations and hung out with Robert Jordan's assistant,
Maria,
several times before I actually knew who she was. I just thought she was a nice lady that was a fan of the Wheel of Time. I didn't know.
She likes to do that to people. I see that little grin she gets on her face when someone's like, "Wait a minute," and she gets that little grin.
And I should add, I think she also helps out Harriet a lot now, is helping her. I'm sure sort through the show stuff, and I don't know. It's all kind of under wraps now until the show comes out, but I'm sure there's a lot going on.
And then, of course, that night there's the dance party, which you should not miss.
Saturday night is the big party night. So kind of when the panels start to slow down at probably like 8 p.m. is the last slot, I think. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
And there's the costume contest earlier during that day, which I participated in this year.
Yeah, there's pictures. Go check out our Facebook, Instagram. You can see Seth juggling on stage. And you did a great job, man. I didn't see any of those other Gleemen juggle.
Yeah, but you also didn't see them drop the balls on stage.
Yeah, well.
No, I gotta say, that gave me a whole new appreciation for people who perform on stage. Like, whew. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I love the costume. The cloak was made for me by the wonderful Liesel, who has been a bartender of ours and a coworker of mine and a good friend here in Portland. And so she's an amazing seamstress and a big fan of the Wheel of Time, and we worked together to make that cloak, which was a big hit. I had people come up to me all weekend being like, "That's the best Gleeman cloak I've ever seen."
It was super cool.
Mm-hmm. And it had pockets.
And this year's theme was like the dark version of characters. So some people follow the theme and like dress up as, there was like Vin from Mistborn with spikes through her eyes. I'm trying to Darkest Timeline. Thank you, Kelsey. Was the theme.
Oh yeah, there was, during the opening ceremonies, there was this really well produced video about like going through a portal stone and there being a bunch of evil Matts and what was it, Lady Matt. Lady Matt was great.
I love the gender bender cosplays. I don't know why, but I really like it when people do that. Maybe I should be gender bender Avienda next year.
Didn't a guy and a girl won? He was dressed as a brown. They were both brown Aja, and he was
like she was dressed as the warder and he was dressed as the Aes Sedai. Wasn't that Mashi and her husband?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Mashi from Dragonmount. I can't remember her real name if she would even want it out there. But
it's Marine Car, but yeah,
I always just call her Mashi.
Yeah,
that's how I know her.
That's pretty much what she goes by. But they just switched genders, and she's always had this really cool Asha'man costume, and then he dressed up in the brown Aja.
So Saturday night was really fun. There was a lot of booze, and I might leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of those things where what happens at the Wheel of Time dance party stays at the Wheel of Time dance party.
For the most part. So much fun. And again, just so much fun, especially hanging out with the folks we know through What Spoilers, fans and listeners. And it's so cool. We talk to a lot of these people all the time, but to like actually sit down and have a drink.
Oh, and a huge shout out to Zarth. I just really enjoyed talking with him all weekend, man. It was good seeing you.
Zarth, you're awesome. It was nice to meet you.
Zarth had a lot of wisdom this weekend. And also,
and one more shout out for Kirk. Also, that dude.
Huge shout out to Kirk.
Really supplied us with booze. Thank you, man, and nice stuff too.
He was just the sweetest man, And his innkeeper costume was fantastic.
I loved it.
Yeah. He's had a big wooden spoon, and he was dressed up, He's a rotund guy, I will say. Never trust a skinny innkeeper. It was a perfect costume. So Sunday, unless you have anything else to say about Saturday.
No, I think that's pretty much covered, other than being awake until like 5 o'clock in the morning hanging out with people, which was awesome. But Sunday
I'd been going on about 4 hours of sleep by the time Sunday rolled around. I got like 3 hours one night, 1 hour the next night. So I kind of missed the beginning of Sunday.
be prepared to run on ethanol, guys, because you're not going to be getting any sleep, or unless you're really serious about it.
Right.
There's just so much fun stuff happening that I never really want to go to bed, because you're going to miss. You're just going to miss
something.
out on stuff.
The FOMO is real, even when you're there. Right? If you were awake 24/7, you still want to be in 3 places at once.
Yes, absolutely.
I would recommend the garden out back is a great place to get a little bit. It's more of a forest out back to get a little bit of.
Yeah, it's a really nicely planned out. I hadn't realized this last year, but at the Ravinia, which is where the con takes place, it's got the name of the hotel is like a sentence. I don't remember all of it, but
Crown Plaza Hotel at Ravinia.
There are several buildings, I guess, that are arranged in sort of a semicircle. And in the center is a large park with a stream running through it and kind of paths through the woods. And I definitely go out there here and there to just hang. And you need to make a phone call or just like lay in the sun for 10 minutes and decompress a bit. It's a beautiful campus. I feel like campus is probably the best word because there's many buildings and a park and all that. And then we stumbled into our panel on Sunday, which is was just me and Seth trying to doing a live show. Also, not enough time.
No, we had this idea we were going to do the last 2 chapters of Fires of Heaven, but it was a 45-minute panel, and then someone else was coming in. And you know what? That usually takes us 3 hours. So we rushed. We cut it a little early, but there was a good stopping point, so we just cut right before the end of the chapter. But it was a fantastic recording session. We had great feedback from the live audience. We had we had probably 25, 30 people there. Am I overestimating that number?
No, the room almost, or I mean, the chairs almost filled up. I think everybody got a chair at least.
Right.
Yeah, that was really fun. That's probably one of my biggest regrets about this year is that the panel on all 3 panels, I just felt like we could have kept going. And I was having so much fun being up there and especially engaging with the audience. We could have doubled the time of each of our panels and filled it and still been having fun.
Absolutely.
So I guess my biggest regret about JordanCon is that it's not long enough. There's just not enough time. It's only 3 days.
Nodding. But like I said, live recording's fun. Again, that will be published, but that's going to be a while because that's going to come out in episode order, and we have quite a backlog. So y'all are going to have to wait on that one. I will say my favorite part of that was the call and response.
Oh, that was a good idea, man.
Thank you.
Did you come up with that on the spot?
No, I thought about it when doing notes.
Oh, awesome. Well,
which was like an hour earlier. So yes, maybe on the spot.
Yeah, there's the scene in the second to last chapter in TSR where the Aiel starts singing "Wash the Spears,"
and I had
chanting. Really,
chanting, yeah.
More of a chant.
And I had the audience yell, "Wash the spears," and then I had Patrick read the little bit that comes afterwards, and we got into this nice call and response, and for the whole chapter. That was awesome.
And then on Sunday we just got to hang out with folks more. Went out to lunch/dinner, probably more like a dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Closing ceremonies is more like a. I gotta say, respect to the JordanCon organizers. They are very serious about taking feedback, and at the end of the con, they spend like several hours just taking people's questions, concerns, complaints, and trying to address them so that they can do better next year. And they actually care what you think. It's crazy, I know.
It's crazy, yeah.
They actually read all of the criticism or whatever, and
it's not the easiest thing to sit through, Maybe.
Well, yeah,
you know,
it's a long, essentially a long meeting. That's
right, with 400 people.
right, hundreds of people giving their opinions on stuff.
Right.
But that says something about the JordanCon community as well. And there is a JordanCon app, which is freaking awesome. That can help you kind of organize what you want to do on which days. And you can submit feedback through the app if you liked a panel, want to see more of that or less of that. And they actually read that stuff and try to improve each year. And I think that they really have. I felt like this year was significantly more elaborate. Like with the cool videos they made for the opening ceremony.
Some of that happened last year, but last year I think Brandon Sanderson was such a big deal that was really the focus of the con. Really, it was amazing how much more it was focused around Brandon Sanderson last year than it was this year. And now that I think about it, I think that's a big part of why I had more fun this year. Because it was much more Wheel of Time focused. Yep. Final thing, or one of the few things, reserve your rooms early, right? It doesn't cost you anything to reserve a room. You can cancel the day before the con. As soon as you can reserve a room, go get it. They're going to go early. They're going to go fast.
Yeah, and if you reserve a room with the con, you get a special rate. So you're going to save a significant amount of money. I think they cut like a quarter of the price off or something. Those rooms in that hotel usually go for like $200, and if you do it right, you can get them for much cheaper than that. And if you split a room, you're going to be doing pretty good. Yeah,
because it was you and me, and we actually had someone sleeping on our floor, so that helped defray the cost a little bit.
Yeah. We are not big or famous, so still splitting rooms over here. We're still nerds from a basement.
I guess my last point, follow the 3-2-1 rule. If you're going to survive the weekend, get at least 3 hours of sleep a night, eat 2 meals a day, and take 1 shower.
Oh, yeah. Didn't they say that at the...
Yeah, that was their...
the ceremony.
that was their comment at the opening ceremonies.
3 hours a night, 2 meals a day, and 1 shower.
And I got to say, it worked. My understanding is this is one of the best smelling cons that you will ever go to. Now, there was some issues with the temperature fluctuation in the hotel this year, so occasionally you'd be freezing cold and walk into a blast furnace. So it was a little hard to avoid sweating. But
I think part of the problem was that, at least for me, it was really warm in Atlanta this year, so it got up to I think almost 80 or maybe 80 during the warmest, and then it's hot and humid while I'm hanging out outside, and then you walk into a nice, dry, cool hotel and start shivering because you're got that southern sheen of sweat from all the humidity down there.
I gotta say, the Gleeman's cloak was the best thing for it because I basically have it hanging off the back of my neck and I got plenty of airflow when I was outside. It wasn't too hot. And then I come inside and wrap it around me like a blanket. I want to wear cloaks now. It's amazing. They're perfect for variable weather. I see now.
A conversation about this with people at the con. I'm like, a cloak is such a sensible garment. Why don't people still wear them? Capes? I don't know. But cloak?
Well, and this, I like the length of this one. It's just above my knee, so it's almost more like a jacket length rather than a interfering with walking length. Anyway, I'm gonna gush about this cloak a lot in the future because it's awesome.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?